Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. So today we're tackling something that literally affects every single one of us, our money. But here's the thing, to really get a grip on your financial future and figure out where our money is actually heading, we kind of have to look backward, like exactly 2,000 years into the past backward. We're going to unpack this deeply entrenched historical pattern, trace the rise and fall of one of history's most trusted currencies, and see how it directly connects to the money sitting in your bank account right this very second.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a pretty heavy question. Is your cash falling into a 2,000-year-old trap? I know, it sounds intense, right? But look, if you've ever felt like your savings are just secretly shrinking, or that grinding away and stashing cash in the bank just isn't cutting it anymore, you're absolutely not crazy. Your savings might actually be caught in this ancient, invisible cycle of destruction. And to understand what that trap even is, we need to look at how wealth has historically been preserved versus how it's been destroyed.
When you look at history, there's just this massive, stark contrast between these two assets. On one side, you've got gold. Gold has outlasted literally every single currency humanity has ever come up with for over 2 millennia. It's got this flawless, unbroken survival record when it comes to protecting wealth. And then you have cash. And the mathematical reality here is that cash slowly but surely loses its purchasing power. And eventually, it just dies. Every single time. I know, bold claim, right? But history leaves clues. So let's look at the ultimate example of this exact cycle in action. Let's trace the wild ride of the Roman denarius, which was once history's most trusted currency. Right around year 1, the Roman silver standard is basically absolute. This pure silver coin literally built an empire. It facilitated trade across the entire known world because everyone completely trusted its value. But fast forward to year 64, and Emperor Nero introduces the very first crack in that trust. By year 200, we're looking at a massive, unstoppable debasement spiral. And finally, by year 400, complete economic fallout. Rome is essentially destroyed from the inside out. So what exactly went wrong between year 1 and year 400? Well, it all boils down to currency debasement. Just as a quick refresher, this is the slow, deliberate reduction of a currency's intrinsic value by whoever is issuing it. And notice I said deliberate. This isn't some accident. It's a specific mechanism authorities use to stretch out their money supply. It basically acts as a hidden tax, silently draining the wealth of the everyday people holding that currency. So the really crucial thing to understand is that the money might look exactly the same on the outside, but inside it is fundamentally worth a whole lot less. And that dangerous little precedent, that started with Emperor Nero. So Nero's facing all these mounting debts and the massive, massive costs of running an entire empire, and he makes this fateful decision. He starts minting the denarius with just a little less silver, swapping it out for cheaper base metals. The coin looked completely identical to the old ones, but the state kept the leftover silver to spend on itself. It was this brilliant, quick fix for the government, but man, it set an incredibly dangerous, totally irreversible precedent for every Roman leader that came after him. It's literally a textbook example of a debasement spiral. Step 1. The government deliberately debases the currency. Simple enough. Step 2. Bad money drives out good money. This is such a fascinating historical quirk. When the Roman citizens figured out the new coins had less silver, what did they do? They hoarded the old pure silver ones, the good money, and only spent the diluted, bad stuff. This just floods the entire system with cheap currency. Step 3. Because the currency is fundamentally worthless, purchasing power just totally plummet. Everything costs way more. And finally, step 4. The whole economic foundation simply collapses under the weight of runaway inflation. All right, so that's the ancient history lesson. But what on earth does the fall of the Roman Empire actually have to do with your savings account today? Like, why are we talking about old emperors and silver coins in this explainer? Well, hang on to that thought, because we are about to make a massive jump right from ancient history straight into our modern financial reality. 1971. This year is arguably the most pivotal turning point in modern financial history. Up until this point, the US dollar was tied to gold. There was this physical anchor that actually limited how much money could just be printed out of thin air. But in 1971, the US severed that final anchoring tie to gold. The golden tether was completely cut, and it fundamentally changed what our money actually is. And that officially ushered in our modern era of fiat money. Since fiat money isn't backed by a physical commodity, no gold, no silver, its value comes entirely from government decree and, well, the trust of the people using it. When we cut that tie to gold in 71, we went all in on the fiat system. And in doing so, we basically kicked off the exact same modern equivalent of Rome's later currency experiments. We stripped the intrinsic value right out of our money.
So the reality staring us right in the face here, our modern financial system is following the exact same script. What we're experiencing today with our money, it's not an accident. It's not just some bad luck or temporary economic turbulence. We are watching a perfect, real-time repetition of that 2,000-year-old pattern we just examined with the Roman Empire. The script hasn't changed at all, just the actors and the technology.
96%. Just let that staggering number sink in for a second. By some estimates, the US dollar has lost over 96% of its purchasing power since 1913, back when the Federal Reserve was created. I mean, really think about that. Cash sitting in a safe or stuffed under a mattress has essentially just evaporated in value over the last century. That is the silent, invisible drain of debasement happening right in front of us.
When you start putting all these puzzle pieces together, it completely explains why traditional savings just don't feel like enough anymore. We are dealing with unbacked fiat currency, a 96% loss in purchasing power, and a confirmed repeating pattern of deliberate debasement. And standing opposite to all of that is gold's historical role as the ultimate wealth protector. So if you've been feeling this financial anxiety about your savings, this history absolutely validates that feeling. You're completely justified. Look at this side by side. The historical echo here is just undeniable. Ancient Rome had the denarius. We have the US dollar. Their catalyst was systematically reducing the silver content. Our catalyst was cutting the final ties to gold in 1971. Rome's result was rampant inflation and an empire collapsing. Our result? Well, so far, it's a massive ongoing loss of purchasing power. The mechanisms are literally identical, even though we're separated by 2 whole millennia. I want to share a quote that I think just perfectly crystallizes everything we've been unpacking in this explainer. Rome debased its currency for 200 years before collapse. We're on year 55 of the same experiment with the dollar. Wow, that really puts our current economic moment into a stark, undeniable perspective, doesn't it? We're not at the very beginning of this thing, and maybe we're not at the very end, but we are exactly 55 years into a totally recognizable 200-year historical cycle. So that leaves us with a really critical question today, and I genuinely want to hear from you. What do you see as the biggest threat to your savings right now? Is it inflation? Is it government debt? Or is it something else entirely? And most importantly, now that you know this 2,000-year history, what is your plan to protect yourself? History shows us the trap for sure, but it also shows us how to avoid it. Think about your strategy, keep questioning the forces shaping your money, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you next time.